Do you feel often not good enough? How did you start Fiverr? How much should I charge for a website? Is it better to offer design or web development? Which systems do you use for your sites? What the flip? If there is no client yet and want to start making a project for portfolio, what's your suggestion? In this video, I'm going to answer all your questions you guys have asked me previously. Let's go! Alright guys, the first question comes from Christian Batchman-Web Design. Thank you so much for all your questions. Literally, without you, this video probably wouldn't exist. He asked a couple of questions, and the first one is, do you feel often not good enough? And I'm just going to assume you mean in this under the sun world in business sense, not in my personal life. But in my work life, sometimes no, to be very honest. And I mentioned this in my course, but essentially, even despite having 7+ years of industry experience, literally working in a marketing company, then transitioning full-time to freelance, there is still a thorn in my flesh. And not only that, but in specifically the Webflow space, you can keep learning, you can keep growing. You don't really know everything. Granted, you know the fundamentals, which is box model, CSS classes, and perhaps JavaScript, but the advanced stuff, like when clients ask you stuff like, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Sometimes I literally tell them, no, I cannot do this. I'm still learning. I think that's the best way to describe it, is that no matter where you are still learning. If you're not, then that's a bit crazy. I don't want to be like that, but I sometimes don't feel like I'm good enough. Sometimes I'll be very honest, like I'll wake up and if I have a break day or like an off day, I'll feel guilty not doing work. Firstly, I think it's a crazy mindset. And secondly, sometimes I'm like, oh crap, man, what am I doing in this, world, etc. I often think about that a lot, actually. But I think this is a thing that you have to keep going, because I'm assuming you're asking this, like, if you're starting out, you just have to keep going and just keep build that track record. And then because you have that track record, you can't even deny it. You can't, someone can't come to you and say, hey, are you good enough? They just know you're good enough. You don't have to convince them. And I talk about this in my course, at the start. If you don't have much experience, you tend to overqualify. You tend to say, oh yeah, I can do this. I've done all this stuff. But once you become experienced, you can literally jump on the calls and you don't have to say anything, because the client or the person already done their research on you. You already have an undeniable proof of what you've done in this under some world, and you are qualified. So I'm assuming that's where you're coming from. Everything comes with practice. Let's get to the next question. Okay, so the next question comes from the same person. Thanks again for your comment. How did you start Fiverr and it's still worth it now? And firstly, I'm assuming you've already looked at my Fiverr profile. It's right here. Essentially, I got started by random. It was during coronavirus, and I remember it literally takes like 30 minutes to set up a Fiverr profile. And that's not even like optimizing your profile. It's literally just like filling in the mandatory forms. And I literally did halfway, and I was thinking at that time, I had to go somewhere. So I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. But for some reason, I just kept doing it. And then I did it, and then I had absolutely no expectation, because I was working for an agency full-time, I believe. And then all of a sudden, I was very lucky, and there's no other way to say this, but I praise God for, the way He exalted me. But essentially, I had clients slowly coming to me. It's very hard, to be honest. If you really think about it, getting into YouTube, getting into any social media platform in this under sun world, it's just oversaturated. I think what worked for me is, one, that I just created with no expectation. 2, obviously I got extremely lucky. And 3, it had a special functionality at that time. I still don't know if it's still there, but where you can filter between different countries. And I think that's how I got discovered, because the very first client that reached out to me was from the exact same country I was, which is Australia. And I'm assuming he must have just switched the tab to Australia. And at the time, believe it or not, there was only like 3 people in Australia in that tab of website development, or Webflow development to be more specific. Nowadays, I think there's way more, because you have pages now. But that's essentially how I got started. And then I just took on clients at a loss, pretty much. Like, looking back now, it was a loss, but it was a gain for me, because I got this real world experience. And then I just give them, or I try to give them really good service, because delivering a website is one thing, and obviously you want to deliver the best, but you also want to deliver the service. And I talk about this in my course in the business side, module 5. But by giving them really good service, you have a good reputation, and then they'll refer you, or you get like a 5-star review, and then it slowly snowballs. But that's essentially how I got into it. Do I think it's still worth it now? I do think it's still worth it, because at the end of the day, it's only going to get more and more saturated. But I think at the start it's very, very hard to get in, to be honest. I genuinely got extremely lucky. And you gotta understand, and I talk about this in my course, that Fiverr takes a cut. So you gotta remember that as well, in your business, finance, etc. Let's jump on to the next question. How much should I charge for a website for a local service cost? I actually talk about this in my course in great detail, but a high level overview. Number one is, who is your client? Is it a mom and pop shop? If it's a local client, which you're saying, you should charge local rates. Or if you're just starting out, to be very honest, this is just personally what I did, you could take it at a discounted rate and charge them cheaper, so you can build your track record, you can get really nice testimonials, you can gain their trust. Because in my course I mentioned, in order to sell appropriately, you should firstly not sell. You sell by not selling, but you want to gain these three metrics: trust, expertise, and likability. And if you have those three, it's easier to snowball to get more clients. So if you're coming from the framework of like you're just starting out, potentially you might want to explore the option of doing it at a discount rate or doing it as a pro bono just to build that track record. Otherwise, if you're somewhat experienced, you can go ahead and take it at the local price that your competitors charge. Typically, in a standard 5-page website, perhaps with a CMS blog, if you're in the US, you could charge anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 USD for a mom and pop shop. At the end of the day, it's what they agreed to pay, it's the value they perceive the website, and you can go ahead and convince them. Typically, in my experience, local businesses don't really value websites because you're talking usually to the owner, and the owner is really tight with money, perhaps, and it's only if they see the value they'll pay for something. And I've discussed this in my course in great detail. So that's my answer. Let's move on to the next one. Is it better to offer design or web development? And again, I've discussed this in my course, but essentially from my understanding in this under the sun world, as a business, your main goal is to generate profits. That is magic paper, so you can spend it on stuff. If that is your goal, then at the end of the day, whatever serves that goal is going to be a win. But I also talk in my course that you should think about short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. And the fact that if you're gonna solo freelance by yourself, you only have a limited amount of time, and there's different opportunity costs. For example, if I do web design work, I can't really do as much web development work. You know what I mean? It's a trade-off because literally you're one person. So that's one thing to consider. Secondarily is, can you deliver that service? For example, are you better at web development? Do you enjoy web development more than design? That's something to consider because you will be the one doing the work, assuming you're a freelancer. But otherwise, it's great combo because these two services, design and web development, are very complementary. But again, just to recap, number one, do you even enjoy it? Number two, do you even have the time to do it and think about opportunity costs? And finally, if you do offer design on top of web development, which is very, very complementary, you can go ahead and charge a package. You can go ahead and give your clients more value. And we know in this under the sun world, more magic paper is given because of the more value you provide. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. Which systems do you use for your sites? Client first or Lumos? So obviously client first, you're talking about FinSuite, and then Lumos, you're talking about Tim Ricks, the Webflow wizard, which, believe it or not, fun fact, I watched one of his videos on wizardry technique, and that's what got me into Webflow. Because firstly, sorry for the side tangent, I couldn't understand, and I'm sure you're struggling with this, that's why you're asking me this question, how to build a website in Webflow. That's one thing, and I was a designer previously, and I was designing artboards, let's say 1920 by 1650 pixels. How does this work on like a smaller laptop screen? How does it work on a bigger screen size, like a large monitor? These are the questions I asked myself. And because I was so frustrated with using pixels, so I didn't use pixel to start off with, I used the wizardry technique by Tim Ricks. He's the guy that founded the Lumos, I believe. And with viewport width, it's essentially making the font size or every single element in your Webflow site scale based on the screen width. So if you look at a site on a 13-inch MacBook, it would look exactly the same or almost identical to a large iMac screen. So that's what I started out with. It was wizardry technique, specifically changing the pixel size, the font body size to a viewport width, and then using EM's ephemeral units. That's what I did. So I didn't really use client first or Lumos. That's the answer. Nowadays, I don't do viewport width anymore without going into a 6-hour video. I typically use REMs. So I believe it's client first, but client first has a proper way of naming things. I don't name it that specific. And I discussed this in my Webflow course, how to name stuff and what's even the point of naming stuff. In fact, I've created a YouTube video called Understanding CSS Classes and Box Model. Feel free to check that out. Let's go on to the next question. How do you handle fluid design? And again, this is a technical term. When you go into Webflow, you have different breakpoints And inside different breakpoints, you can drag the sidebar in order to see smaller and larger breakpoints within that device. For example, on tablet, you can go ahead and stretch from a larger tablet to a shorter or narrower tablet. And again, I mentioned in the previous Q&A, I do that simply by eye using REMs, so it's not a responsive design in that compared to like viewport width. So that's the answer. Okay, so the next question comes from John Toy IB. Sorry for butchering your username. He asks, if there is no client yet and want to start making a project for portfolio, what's your suggestion? I try to create a fictional project, but I have no good assets, resources. Maybe you have recommendations to get a good free to use asset, or redesign a website with their image assets. Is that allowed? Firstly, there are some great resources, and I will mention a couple on top of my head. There is Figma Community Library, there is Unsplash for images, there's Pexels for images and videos, stock photos like free. You can also go into Icon Finder and Flat Icon for free icons, and Google Fonts for fonts. In regards to starting out, I think this is a great idea to put some projects behind your belt. And specifically, at the end of the day, I mentioned this in my course, but if you're not up to par in Webflow, so if you're not even comfortable with building a portfolio site, I personally would not recommend selling it. I discuss this in my course at great detail. If you're a freelancer, you can get away with a lot of things in this under the sun world. For example, through marketing and sales, you can sit there and pretend like, oh yeah, I've done 400 Webflow sites. Yeah, I'm so good. Yeah, I can do this. When in reality, you cannot do it. That is possible. That's unethical, I would say. But I would strongly advise to get really good at the product or service you're selling, which is, I'm assuming, Webflow design and development. So firstly, get good at that. And you're on the right track. If you're starting out and you're not good at it, just keep practicing no matter what. And secondarily, if you're already good at it, but you don't have the case studies, I talked about this in my course, I'll get any low-hanging fruits. So I'll work on real client projects. I think that's golden. So, either reach out to your friends, family, or network to get these and perhaps work it at a discounted rate in order to get that social proof. Your goal, again, should be trust, likability, and expertise. And secondarily, if you can't do that for whatever reason, fictional projects is a good way to go. So you're on the right mindset. Many ways to do this. You can literally go to any business, for example, and just redo their homepage and then send it to them to sell, perhaps, or to give away for free. So again, you can get that testimonial, for example. Otherwise, you can actually just put it in your portfolio, and you can do it like, I reimagined the McDonald's website for fun. You know what I mean? You don't even have to put for fun. Typically, they never ask you these questions unless you're going for a job interview. But fill out your portfolio. You're on the right track. I don't think there's anything wrong with literally going to an existing website and using their assets and improving their website for personal use. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure for personal use, you can easily put it on your website and just, say, oh, I did this for fun. People love that. So on the right track, keep up the great work, keep updated. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this FAQ video. Feel free to leave a comment down below in this video and I'll answer it in my future videos, Lord willing. As discussed, my plan right now is to finish my Webflow course, which is pretty much almost done. Then I plan to cut down client work from 85% to 50% so I can focus on YouTube videos. That's my plan at least, guys. Check out more of my videos right here and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace be with you.
What the flip? Get the A. Get the flip out.